So I started my professional journey as a banker.
Today we have with us Mr. Vikram Duggal. Mr. Vikram Duggal is a leadership and executive coach. And what is very interesting about him is that he has made multiple career transitions in his life.
I started inquiring from myself as to what shall I do now. It was not so simple a decision because
80% of people in India want a career change.
So the reasons of thinking of a career transition can be multiple.
Right.
One, which is something very common, an acronym for them. I call it as OHOM, OHOM.
Okay.
Now tell me this, Shruti, that what do you think is the most important factor for your existence?
Hi everyone, and a very warm welcome to a very interesting podcast that we've brought for you today. Today we have with us Mr. Vikram Duggal. Welcome sir, welcome. I'm very happy to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Vikram Duggal is a leadership and executive coach. And what is very interesting about him is that he has made multiple career transitions in his life. And we're very excited to know his story and discuss a lot of things that come along with career transitions, especially the emotional and mental journey that people make along with the career that they're transitioning. So, sir, we'd love to know about you more. We'd love to know your journey and the transitions, and then we'll talk more.
So I started my professional journey as a banker. Okay. I was with State Bank of India. Everyone knows the biggest bank. I directly joined as an officer there. And at that time, I had thought that one day I'll retire from this organization. And things were going pretty well. However, something happened within the bank, my role within the bank, that life turned around.
Right.
I was brought into the role of a trainer, as we used to call there, in the space of learning and development, and I started enjoying that journey.
Okay.
And since in the bank, every role is tenure-based. You're there for 3 years, 5 years or so. And when that tenure was getting over, I started inquiring from myself as to what shall I do now?
Right.
Shall I go back to mainstream banking, or shall I carve out a path for myself? It was not so simple a decision because of the safety, security of a job. However, the decision tilted in favor of moving into the space of learning and development forever.
Okay.
And thankfully, another organization in Hyderabad, where I am right now, they had a position as a professor in human resources.
Okay.
I applied, I got selected, and the transition was apparently very smooth.
Okay.
Because from one monthly paycheck to another, that's how it was. And my horizon started expanding there. However, in about 2 years' time, I realized that I must be on my own. And I resigned from there.
Okay.
Without having anything in my hand at that time, but just thought that I'll be able to handle whatever comes up.
Okay.
During the notice period itself, I got another offer.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, let me work for another couple of years and see what happens. So I took up another role in another organization in the space of learning and development. After 2 years there, the calling was very clear that if you can't be on your own now, perhaps you'll never be. It will become too late.
Right.
So it's about 13 years back that I started my independent journey.
Okay.
And has been interesting.
Great.
A roller coaster ride.
Right.
Yeah.
So, banker to learning and development and HR to finally having something on your own, but in the same space.
In the same space, yeah.
Right. So again, a story of multiple and a success story of multiple transitions.
Yes, we can definitely
I would definitely call that a success story.
Yes.
This story kind of resonates with a lot of viewers today.
Right.
Because as Odin School, we are in the space of upskilling. And a lot of people who come to us are in the same kind of the space where there is something which they want more than what they have right now, right? I don't know if you want to call it discontentment or some sort of itch that I want to do better than what I am right now. And that is where the entire the thing of career transitions, I want to transition into something better. Right. Now, before we go into the depths of it, I just did some research. Let me just to validate what we are talking about, So there are some of these surveys that were done by the Economic Times, and these are published, and the links of these are given in the description, those who want to have a more detailed understanding of what it looks like. Also in the Hindustan Times and Business Standards. And the research kind of blew my mind because it says that in 2023, and this is in the Indian context, right? And 2023, we're talking just when we were out of the pandemic, right? A couple of years ago. 41% professionals were looking for a career change. Okay. And this was a 30% increase from 2022.
30% increase, okay.
From 2022. Yeah. Now, what was more surprising for me is this survey was done in 2024, and it says in January 2024, the survey said 80% of people in India want a career change. Okay. Now, we don't know what the reasons are. Probably there are a lot of macro factors and micro factors. Macro factors because people are getting laid off and people are saying AI will take over everything. So probably there is some discontent, some insecurity, sense of insecurity. There was also a survey done by CNBC TV 18, again in Jan 2024, which said 8 in 10 Indians want to switch industry, not just jobs. Okay, and these are all validated reports we are talking about. Now, coming from this sort of societal or the life that we have right now, what according to you makes people want to switch? Because they are in their comfort zone, they are getting their monthly paychecks. What is it that causes them to want a career transition?
So the reasons of thinking of a career transition can be multiple.
Right.
One, which is something very common that comes up, is you're not being paid as much as you think you are getting paid. As much as you think you can get paid. So that's one of the very obvious reasons. Second reason that comes to my understanding is the space in which you are working. You may call it work culture or the nature of the role that you are having. That itself also has a huge contribution to a thought process that this is not the place where I would like to be. It has happened with me. And third, which is perhaps one of the most significant reasons, well thought through reasons, where a person somewhere realizes that I'm meant for something different. And that's what triggers the thought process that, okay, let me think what can be a better option for me in terms of income that I need in my life. So these are three broad reasons that come to my mind. There can be simple physical reasons that a person has a family somewhere else, so here it's not working out, so person wants to go. These are very, very physical reasons, material reasons, so we are not talking much about that.
So there's another survey that we came across while researching. This was again published in the Business Standard. So it says, see, when we talk about career transitions, one of the things that immediately comes to mind is a better pay hike. A better pay package. Probably that is what most people, most professionals today want to change their. Again, this survey says only 37% people want to transition because of a pay hike. 42% people want to do it because they want a better work-life balance. And then there is another small percentage which, like you said, they feel they're not meant for their job. They feel like a misfit in that space. So these are the three things. Now, another survey says there are 45% people who want to change, but they don't know how to do it or they don't know where to go. Okay. Now, there are, like we said, multiple factors that influence all these decisions. How does one validate whether my reason, because this is life-changing thing, right? This is not just a small
Right.
decision we're taking.
Right.
How does one actually validate if a career transition is right for me at this point of time?
Before I give a response to this question, whether the career transition decision is right or not, I would like to speak a little bit about the numbers that you have shared.
Sure.
I'm not surprised by them.
Okay.
And obviously, we are saying that they are validated numbers, so there's no reason to contest them. However, even 37% people who are thinking of a career transition because of higher pay package, I would like this number to come down. The reason is, of course, we all want more money.
Right.
In my work that I'm doing, I would like to earn.
Of course.
Everyone wants
Yes.
that. However, if your reason of career transition is only money, perhaps that's where the problem perhaps starts.
Okay.
So let's say I'm working somewhere and you are ready to offer me 10% hike.
Okay.
And 10% is good.
Right.
Now, will I move? If I move only because of that 10% hike, perhaps I've not done my homework well. So I must move because of higher pay packet plus something else that I'm likely to get,
Okay.
which I'm not getting here.
Right.
Then it's a decision which is worth taking a decision for money also.
I've heard a lot of people these days, especially the Gen Z, people who are probably 2-3 years in their career, they talk a lot of passion. I'm not passionate about this. It's not giving me the kick. So where does passion play a role? I mean, is passion... first thing is, do people actually realize what their real passion is?
Right.
Or is it just a hype that is created around it? Second is passion a reason for making such a life-altering decision, probably at that age or that stage in their career?
So, in fact, if you look at life, the best driven people are those who are driven by passion.
Correct.
So that passion word is very, very significant. And I am being successful in my role because I'm passionate about it. It's very, very simple. Now, you can be passionate about the job. It's not that you have to be necessarily an entrepreneur or work independently to be able to reflect your passion in your work. Not necessary. However, when it comes to passion, we must examine, as you rightly said, is it just a fad or a hype that we are talking about? And many times it is.
Right.
What we have to see is how do I ultimately convert my passion into money? How do I monetize it? And monetizing anything which is related to passion is not easy.
Right.
You may be a very passionate cook, but who will pay you for that? Right? You may be a very passionate artist, but who will pay you for that? You may be a very passionate stand-up comedian, but who will pay you for that?
Correct.
These questions need to be answered before you start transitioning towards passion as your career.
Right.
And you were asking me this question earlier that how do you validate it? Very, very important question to answer before you even make the move. You may delay the move, but the consideration has to be substantial.
Right.
I think the best way is twofold. One is you must talk to yourself a lot about it. Not just because Shruti has told Vikram, this job seems to be very good, or this business proposition, business idea looks very good, let's do this. That's not a very fair way to move ahead. So you must talk to yourself a lot. Second is we have two types of experts available in the industry, in the market. One can be a set of people who are experts in that specific area that you're talking about.
Right.
Go and talk to them. Let's once again come back to the cooking example that I gave. Go and talk to some cooks who have transitioned to this role responsibility, and how easy or difficult was it for them to move.
Right.
So we have experts in every space, every field they are available.
Yeah.
And if you can't really physically meet them, online space is pretty rich in helping you to find out such people. Second set of people is not related to the technicalities of the new role or new profession that you're looking for, but people who are experts in helping you to understand yourself better,
Okay.
or who can share their life experiences with you. So I'm pointing towards mentors and coaches.
Right.
And in the online program that I had created during COVID, I had lots of interaction with many such people.
Right.
And just a little conversation brings next level of clarity.
Right.
You may not get the right answers in the first conversation that you have, but if you keep talking to people over a period of time, perhaps you'll get enough clarity whether my decision is right. So talk to coaches and mentors. Mentors give more of their experiences in their sharing, but coaches do a slightly different job. They ask you questions which you'll have to figure out as an answer.
So more an introspective
Absolutely.
experience.
So you are able to search within yourself as to what shall be the answer to this question, and that becomes your answer.
Right. Right.
That's where the subtle difference is. If I tell you I'm sharing from my experiences, that's my answer.
Correct.
My answer, my experiences can't become your experiences.
Right. Right.
But when you are finding out from yourself as to, okay, this is how I would like to respond to this question, that becomes your answer. There's higher level of ownership, higher level of commitment, and then perhaps you will be able to take better actions.
Right, and also because you know yourself best, you know your restraints.
No one else knows, absolutely.
You know your responsibilities. Probably there's something that you're supporting that you can't let off. So there are a lot of personal issues also that come in. So when we talk of the different reasons for transition, one of the reasons, I think one of the predominant reason why people want to pull themselves out of their comfort zone is fear. Fear of different things, fear that I might lose my job tomorrow. So let me get into a space which is slightly more secure.
Right.
Or fear that my peers are moving ahead and I'm staying back, so I might miss out something, FOMO as it is called. Or the fear of, not being able to make it. So there are different kinds of fears that we have. Cognitively also, we have something called cognitive dissonance, which means, I don't want to take action because I'm not confident about it, or there is some kind of a fear inside me.
Right.
There is also something called regret aversion. I don't want to regret, so let me do something right now. So there are multiple things that play a role in actually coming to this decision. What is your take on this? Are these the right factors for somebody to take that kind of a life-changing call?
So let's look at it from two different angles. When we talk about fear or any such similar emotion a person experiences, we have to acknowledge that it's the right emotion that person is
Correct.
experiencing, because it is that person's emotion. So we must not discount it. Hey, you don't need to worry about that. You don't need to have any fear. So let's not discount that. Let's acknowledge it.
And address it probably.
Of course. Then the next step comes is address it. And how do you address it? Now, when any emotion is emerging in you, any feeling is emerging in you, it wants you to do something about it. Now, there are two ways to do it. One is you just take a decision based on what the feeling has come up. Because I'm having fear, so I just take a decision. Second way of doing it, which is a better way of doing it, is, and that's where the concept of emotional intelligence comes in, that you apply your intelligence to that emotion. What is it wanting to convey to you?
Right.
Do the right assessment, do the due diligence, have right set of information with you. Do a little forecasting of what your probable action may lead you to. When you do take a decision on your emotion based on all this work that you do intellectually, then perhaps the decision will be better. It's likely to turn out right.
Right.
And even if it does not turn out to be right, you'll still be able to handle it because you did a lot of homework before taking a decision and taking an action on that.
So just to kind of consolidate whatever we have discussed so far, so the decision of making a transition considering the macro factors, of course, but also talking to mentors, talking to coaches, acknowledging your own emotions,
Absolutely.
due diligence, all these factors. A proper research has to go into actually making this decision. It is not just that everybody is doing it, so let me do it.
In fact, that kind of decision is likely to become counterproductive.
Right, right.
We see all kinds of examples around us where people took these rash decisions and it did not turn out to be right, and that became a regret.
Correct.
Another set of people where they not only changed their industry, they became independent over a period of time, and they made huge success out of it.
Right.
Ample number of examples on both sides. So which side would you like to move on? That has to be a guiding factor.
Also, a little bit of assessment on your own skill sets and capabilities, probably. There are certain skills that you can always learn, but do you have the aptitude of to learn those skills? I think should that also be a consideration, or can anything be learnt?
So when it comes to a skill set, we have to look at, again, two sides of that. One is those technical or hard skills that we talk about. And you use the right word there. Only if you have an aptitude must you move towards that.
Right.
If I go back to my being a part of State Bank of India, and as I progressed and I met my batchmates from different parts of the country later in life, I met many of them who had that aptitude of being very good in technology, and they moved into a new career, absolutely new career, way back in maybe late 80s or early 90s, when technology was not even really heard of.
Right.
And they made huge success in their jobs. And so you need to look at your aptitude.
Right.
If you have an aptitude, perhaps you'll be able to pick it up much faster than the world does. So hard skills is about aptitude, and you must take a conscious decision. Second thing, which is many times neglected, but much more important, which is the softer part of you. Even though that term very commonly used is soft skills, but I always give a disclaimer there. Soft skills are really, really hard to learn.
I think we should stop using the word soft skills
Actually,
altogether.
we must stop.
Call them essential skills or life skills or something
yeah.
like that. Yes.
They are not soft at all in terms of learning.
Correct.
When you practice them, they make you soft. That's how we can look at it. Maybe that's how it has come. So those are the skills which are very, very essential to learn to handle any transition.
Right.
Whether you are moving from a job to a similar kind of job, you are moving from a job to a different industry, or taking a plunge to become independent. In all these roles and responsibilities, you'll always be required to demonstrate those soft skills. And one important element of those soft skills is how do you handle yourself?
Right. I think
Stresses, etc., that you go through. How do you handle all those situations?
correct. One of the reasons why we started this kind of podcast series with coaches and experts like you is because at Odeon School we get hundreds of students every month. All right. And most of them are going through this journey.
Okay.
Right. And most of them are going through a complete transition also. So they learn and they do the 6-month program and all of that. And then when it comes to attending interviews and when actually taking that plunge, that is where we see certain problems start coming up, right? And we get some feedback from the industry also that's saying, technically these students are good, but they're not confident enough. They're not able to present themselves properly.
Right.
I don't know whether they are sure about making this transition at all. So there is that kind of doubt. Emotionally also, they're kind of little bit uncertain, thinking probably it is some kind of an identity crisis for them, what I was and what I'm going to be, some kind of a conflict. So these podcast series, we've actually started to address all these kinds of issues where they understand that along with learning the hard skills, there is also an emotional journey that they're going through, and how do they actually handle those kinds of emotions. So coming to this part of the discussion, we'll start with the basic questions. What are the kind of emotions that a person who goes through this transition journey goes through? Because you have done that yourself.
Right. Before I again come to answer your question, what I would like to encourage Odin School, in fact, I would like to commend the effort that you are putting in creating this series of podcasts. However, another addition that you can do is in the entire course, a person comes and attends. One small module can be about handling themselves better, which will, I think, definitely present them better to the industry. Now, what kind of emotions a person goes through? A huge variety is there. Starting from fear, it may also come as self-doubt, it may also come as frustration, it may also come as anxiety.
Right.
Fear of the unknown. These are some of the common spectrums that we can talk about. What will happen if the underlying question of all these emotions may be different, but the factors that are creating those emotions can be similar. So these are some of the emotions that a person goes through. And the way to address them is again acknowledge them. You really can't wish any of the feelings or emotions away. You can't wish them away.
You're right.
They are there, they have come for a reason. And as a student of human behavior, I always say that any feeling or emotion comes to you for a reason. And most important reason is for you to learn some lesson. If I'm anxious, if I have fear, so it has come to teach me a lesson how to become more confident. Right. It's as simple as that. That's what it is. That's how it has to be learned to be handled.
Right. Now, I don't know if there is any connection between these facts, but then when we look at, like we said, right, 80% people, 8 in 10 people want to transition, which means they're not very happy right now. Cut to another research, another survey that was done by the National Institute of Health. This was done in 2023. It says right now we are clocking the highest number of suicides in the age group of 20 and 40. Okay, and this is double the world average. I'm talking about India. Okay, so there is some kind of a discontentment in general. Do you think there is a connection between both these things? Do you think we are undermining the importance of emotional health in the pursuit of better careers and better lifestyles?
So whether we are undermining or not is reflected in the numbers. So I don't have to say anything on that. It is, if the facts are saying that, that means it's there, and people who need to pay attention to that perhaps are not paying enough attention to that.
Right.
So let me ask you a question.
Okay.
What exactly are you looking for ultimately in your life?
Okay, I'm looking for some peace of mind at the end of the day.
Right?
Yes.
And I'm happy that you have given this response, because ultimately every individual is looking for something within. Peace of mind is not somewhere else. You can't go and get it. It is within you. And other responses could be that I'm looking for happiness, I'm looking for fulfillment, and something similar. So everything is something within. Now the question is, the workplaces, are they contributing to providing it to people or experiencing it in the workplace? They can't provide, as I said earlier, but are they creating an environment where people can experience it? I love working where I'm working. You must have come across my book, Irresistible Workplaces, where the subtitle says, this is the place where I want to work, this is the place, this is the nature of work I want to do, and this is the set of people with whom I want to work. Everything falls into place. And it is the responsibility of leaders in an organization to create that culture and environment, because culture always flows from the top.
Right.
So I think when we are talking about the softer side that we touched upon, I think the leadership in organization, across industries, I think they need to also upskill themselves in terms of importance of these factors, and then what actions can they take to create that in their own organizations.
Right.
I'll just give you one example. Imagine that you wake up at 6 o'clock. And one of the first things that you check on your mobile phone is something from your boss asking for an update, whether this delivery has happened or not, whether this sale has happened or not. How will you feel?
Probably
Right?
not too great about it, yeah.
I'm talking about morning. Let's say you are about to retire and you get a call from your boss, say, what happened to that proposal? How will you feel? So this is where we are perhaps making that small mistake. We are not creating those boundaries, or we are not encouraging people to create those boundaries. If I say no to you, I don't take calls before 8 o'clock, I don't take calls after 8 o'clock. If I project myself to you as an employee, perhaps you will not even keep me there. Now, a lot of work needs to be done there.
Right.
And that's where
right.
coaches come into the picture.
Correct, you're right. What you said is absolutely true. At a leadership level, the change has to come. But then what do I as an individual who is probably at the entry level of my career, probably entry +1, I've been in the system for 2 years, 3 years, where not much is in my control over, handling the company policies as such. But then I'm at the receiving end of all these things, right? So as an individual, what do I do to cope with these things? Okay, especially in the context of career transition. Now, if I quit my current job because I don't like the work culture, do I have the guarantee that the next place will give me a better culture? Or probably if I quit that again, how long will I go on quitting? So ultimately the question is, at an individual level, what can I do to strengthen myself or to build something in myself that will help me cope with these kind of things, especially when I'm making this kind of a transition in my career?
So this is one of my favorite subjects, when it brings your entire attention to yourself. Going back into my own life, at some point I realized that my life, my responsibility. And the moment I was able to acknowledge that, understand that, I think my whole way of looking at life underwent a change.
Right.
And that's what I will be talking about now. See, when it comes to life, or when it comes to working in an organization, the external environment is never ever in your control.
Correct.
Don't even expect that. So ultimately it brings everything to you as a person. And you'll recall that in our initial conversation we talked about hard skills, soft skills. So that's where the attention has to come. How do you get more in touch with yourself and ask yourself what needs to change there?
Okay.
And as we say in leadership conversation, leadership is all about inside out. The way you are from within, that's what you experience outside. So if you are experiencing difficult situations in your life, what is it within you which is creating those situations? Ask yourself that.
Okay.
So what we have to start working on, in fact, it has to start quite early in life. The other day I was discussing with another set of people that something that needs to start happening at school level, where children start understanding their feelings, their emotions, their way of thinking, their patterns. I think their life will become much easier. So I would say it's never too late, but the attention has to start coming to what are my thinking patterns? Because your thought, as I very strongly believe that your thought is the seed which creates everything for you. So starting from there, what are the feelings that you experience and how do you find ways to address them? Again, there can be a negative way to channelize your feeling and there can be a positive way to channelize your feeling. So how do you handle the feelings that you experience on an ongoing basis? Then another important thing that I have started paying attention to is away from work, what do you do?
Right. Right.
When you're not at work, what do you do? And here there's a huge challenge that the youth is facing because there are a lot of distractions around them. The distractions can be in the form of gadgets or triggers or stimuli which is available in the environment. Now, what do you do with that? The more you are able to handle those stimuli, the more you are able to be sure about how do you want to use your time. So here, what I would like to qualify my statement as, I'm not at all suggesting that leisures and pleasures of life are not important. They are definitely important. But the question is, they have to be leisure and pleasure.
Correct.
They must not become endless pursuit of something which is not coming at all.
Correct.
That's what happens.
Right.
Let me just create this as an example. Let's say you come back from work at 8 o'clock. Then what's the best time that you should be able to go to sleep? Let's say 11 o'clock. But why are you awake till 2 o'clock? And then how do you start your next morning? And that becomes a very vicious cycle. And at the end of it, the person comes and says that, oh my God, I can't do anything about it.
Right.
Who else will do? It's your life, your responsibility, right?
Right.
So this is where every individual, I really wish that I had a magic wand to do that, but every individual must wake up to taking charge of their lives.
Right. Totally agree. You know, when you talk about taking responsibility for yourself, so if you've decided to make a transition in your career, it is your responsibility to give that kind of effort, to give that amount of time, you know, if required, change the thought process, to be able to take ownership of the result as well. The outcome is also your responsibility, not just the decision.
Of course.
Right, and that is where I think a lot of people go wrong. They take the decision, but when the outcomes come, when they face the outcome, they start playing the blame game.
Right.
You know, that they didn't teach me properly, ya ye ho gaya, ya time nahi mila, ya whatever, different reasons. So I think the moment a person starts taking responsibility, the entire perspective changes.
It
right?
does.
The second,
So, you just use the word blame game, right? And I personally believe that this is one of the easiest things to put into practice.
yes,
And the more you are blaming, the more you are shying away from your responsibility. That's how it works. It increases the distance.
right,
So we have to narrow the distance. The blame must ultimately, I'm not using the word blame now, the blame ultimately must turn around and tell you, man, this is your issue, you have to deal with it.
you have to deal with
Yeah.
it. Correct. The second thing that I really liked what you spoke about is you spoke about patterns. That is something which I think a lot of us don't do at all. If we spend some time and kind of introspect on our own behavior in the last 3-4 years, especially incidents that created an impact on us, there will definitely be a pattern in which we behave. Right? Because something, it keeps repeating. We behave in the same way again and again and again. I think identifying those patterns can be key to making those fundamental changes in our behavior itself.
So since you mentioned about pattern, there are 2 suggestions that I'm giving. One suggestion is start recording your daily activities. Do it for, I say, even for a week. And when it comes to recording daily activities, I'm not saying when you go to work, write everything that you're doing. Work can be one big chunk of your daily activities. I went to work at 8 o'clock, I came back at, fine. We don't really want to talk more about it right now.
Okay.
It may also be important to go a little deeper into that also. However, before the work, after the work, I always say and believe very strongly, there are 2 time zones in your life on which you have absolute control.
Okay.
And those time zones are before you leave for office and after you come back from office.
Right.
You can exercise absolute control on that. Now, let's say out of that 100% of that time, if you are able to take control of even 50%, I think you'll be way ahead of the world around you.
Right, right.
Second important suggestion that I would like to give, which will help you to understand your patterns of behavior, your patterns of interaction with people, which is an important skill again, is to start noticing the language that you tend to use. Because the words that you're using, they have a meaning for you.
Right.
What meaning the word ascribes to them, that's a different story. But you are using those words because you have certain meaning for them.
Right.
Now start marking that.
Okay.
And you'll notice that if you start bringing a slight shift in your language, refining your language towards using words that are empowering and encouraging, I think a lot will change within you. Your energy will start shifting.
Right.
To give you a very simple example, I'm facing a situation, I can present it to you in 2 words. One is I present that to you as a problem, and I present that to you as a challenge.
Right. Yes.
The whole perspective will change. And like this, if you start noticing the language that you tend to use, and I became aware of this accidentally.
Okay.
When I was traveling with a much wiser person many, many years back, about 15, maybe even 20 years back, when he pointed something in my language, and I was stunned for a moment.
Okay.
I was speechless. But I felt that it was so important. And after that, I started consciously working on my language, started using the language which encourages and empowers people. And that's what I'm doing to myself also.
Right.
Is the journey complete? It will never be.
Right. So it's more like I might not be able to do it, or can I do it?
Yeah.
Instead of that, if we change the narrative to how do I do it? What are the possibilities I have? How can I make it happen? I think that brings a
Right.
thought shift as well.
Another simple example of that can be, we are going into another zone of conversation. There are 2 ways to say that. You are asking me, Vikram, can you prepare this Excel report? I say I don't know. That's one way of saying that. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But another way of saying that could be, I don't know it yet.
Right.
Just adding that word is triggering in you, okay, Vikram, this is a skill that will be worth learning for you, which will help you over a period of time.
Right.
Now, we can continue to talk. We can do another podcast on on language sometime. But yes, this is how.
That's true.
Now, why we are talking about it? Because let's remember this for all times to come, that the world knows us through our language.
Very true.
And when we say language, okay, let me expand the zone a little bit. The world knows us through our communication. That's a better way of presenting it. Now, communication involves the language, it involves your body language. So when you work on your communication, I think many things get taken care of. And you were saying somewhere earlier that people are very good in technical skills.
Yeah.
But when it comes to their other skills that we mentioned about, communication is one important aspect. I've seen people talking so beautifully one-to-one. But the moment you say you have to address these 10 people, they fall flat.
Right.
They start hiding behind the curtains.
Right.
That's what happens. Yeah.
That's true.
So you have to work on yourself ultimately.
Correct. So again, from working on yourself, there are a few very pointed questions that I'm going to ask, especially from the context of our our audience, people who are going to listen to this kind of podcast. First is, what is the best way to handle fear and uncertainty? Is there a shortcut to it?
If you ask me whether there's a shortcut to it, my answer is yes.
Yes. Okay.
So again, it will require a lot of high level of awareness. Why I'm saying there's a shortcut, because I somewhere believe that it's just a switch that has to be switched on or off.
Right.
The switch of fear is on, you have to switch it off. Now, how much effort will it take for you to switch it on or off? That depends on you. So there is a shortcut. You just recognize, oh my God, this is what it is, and you change your behavior. And that has happened with many people.
Right.
However, it's easier said than done. What my recommendation is, start moving on this journey of understanding yourself, getting in touch with yourself, acknowledging to yourself that I'm going through such and such challenge. In one of the movies that I quote sometimes is the hero of the movie comes on the stage and admits in front of the large audience and says, today I'm acknowledging that I've messed up. And once that acknowledgement comes, people actually pay attention to you.
Right. Yes.
You'll find that there are more than enough number of people there to help you out. So start with acknowledging to yourself, start with asking yourself what can be done about it. There has to be an action about it.
Yes.
And as we talked about taking care of yourself at some point, it brings us back there. Do you have certain practices in your life on an ongoing basis which help you to handle these kind of situations as and when they come?
Can you give some examples of these practices on an everyday basis? What can I do to, kind of become more aware of myself or handle these kind of issues?
So there are 3 things that I would suggest here.
Okay.
One is physical exercise.
Okay.
And everyone knows that physical exercise is important, but the number of percentage of people who are doing it, you'll always find that it is 10% of people, or let's not again put any
A minority segment.
It's a huge minority. So take care of your physical body. And here another thing that I would like to add is each one of us needs to recognize that mind and body are interconnected.
Yes.
They cannot be separated. They can never be separated. One infects the other. So when you take care of your physical body, your mind will become better. It will give you those hormones in the system which are positive, which are uplifting, which are encouraging, which are supportive, which propel you to an action.
Right.
So take care of your physical body. Second important thing is you may call it practice of meditation, you may call it practice of reflection, some bit of time to yourself every single day.
Okay.
How you do it? Again, there can be multiple examples of that. It can be as simple as leaving everything away, closing your eyes and sitting with yourself. Doing nothing. What happens in those 5, 7, 10 minutes? Don't bother about it. Whatever needs to happen will happen. That's the power of that process.
Right.
Third thing that I would like to add is, and then I'll add a bonus also.
Okay.
Third thing that I would like to add is, which I very religiously put into practice multiple times in a day, that is what is the practice of gratitude. We don't realize that if we are sitting here, there are multiple forces which must have worked for this to happen.
Right.
So we start taking things for granted. Let's start acknowledging the smallest of blessings in life, which again changes the rhythm of your body inside, energy inside you. It undergoes a change. When you realize that there is enough, there is someone who is taking care.
Right.
Who is that? Let's not again go there. And the bonus that I want to add here is learn to relax on the go.
Okay, that's interesting. Could you explain that a little more?
And it has been said by different people in different ways, but I coined an acronym for them. I call it as OHOM, OHOM.
Okay.
Now tell me this, Shruti, that what do you think is the most important factor for your existence?
The fact that I'm alive.
Yeah. What's the factor for that? What's keeping you alive? Most important thing.
My body, the fact that I'm able to breathe.
Right. So you have come to that. That's what I was looking for. So your breath is keeping you alive.
My breath, yes.
So 1 hour, 1 minute.
Okay, OHOM.
OHOM. Now, breath we are taking kind of subconsciously. We are not aware that we are breathing.
Correct.
And I was surprised when I asked a set of participants, do you breathe at work? One participant actually said no. And that startled me. Oh my God, what's he saying? Then he actually helped me to understand that's not breathing. And that's when I realized its power. So when something is keeping you alive, for so many years it has kept you alive, why not make it your ally, make your partner, make your friend? And learning to relax on the go is take a pause. OHOM is just to remind you, but you can do it anytime. As you are walking, as you are in your lift, as you are driving, as you are waiting at a signal, as you are waiting for someone, take that one moment to breathe and pay attention to your breath, and you'll notice it's transformative experience.
So it's 1 minute every hour.
If you can do that, in fact, to begin with, that's what I encourage. Put an alarm. In my sessions that I take, I actually make people set an alarm for every hour.
Okay.
From let's say 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the evening, set an alarm for every hour. Now, however number of times you're able to do it, that's okay. I'm not asking that you have to do every hour only, then you'll notice the difference. No, I am so confident that even a single breath has the power to relax you.
Okay.
You can test it out right now. Close your eyes and take 1, 2, 3 breaths with consciousness. Observe it going in, observe it coming out. Just notice, does it bring some shift in you? Just do that. Let's see. 2, 3 breaths only.
Yeah, it's kind of reducing the speed of my thoughts, I think. And just 3, if I do it for longer, maybe I'll notice more. But yes.
Even this much notice is enough. Even if this happens repetitively in your daily life, 3, 4 times in a day, I think you'll learn how to relax yourself physically, mentally, emotionally.
Right. The other question that I want to ask is, so when you're going through a journey of transition, a lot of times you're likely to experience failure.
Of course.
You're likely to experience multiple instances where you feel you want to give up because you're not able to do it. You're learning something that you've never learned before. It's way out of your comfort zone. How do I keep myself motivated during moments like that? Although the destination is in sight, but the journey itself becomes difficult and I feel like giving up. So how do I overcome that urge of giving up and how do I keep myself focused on track?
So failures are also an integral part of life.
Yes.
It's only how you want to label them. Earlier, we had said that outcomes don't match with what you were expecting them to be.
Right.
So that's a failure, right? So whatever label you want to give that, it doesn't really matter. So you'll have those setbacks. So the question is, what do you do with it?
Yes.
And what helps you to do something with it? The only thing that helps you to do something with it is being emotionally strong. Falling down, again telling yourself that I am in a deep mess right now, and then saying, okay, now what next? That's the only way to handle it. As we say now, if you fall down, there are 2 options that you have. Stay there or get up and start moving again.
Yeah.
So as long as you start moving again, as long as you continue to make that choice, okay, now what can I do about it? I think you'll figure out. Most of the time what happens with people is they actually give up.
Yes.
I want to slightly differentiate in my understanding of giving up. Something which is not working up, giving up on that is absolutely all right. You don't have to continue to struggle with something which is not really working out. You are burning your energy, you are burning your money and so on and so forth. What's the point? What I always say is never give up on yourself.
Right.
You see the difference?
Yes.
So as long as you are continuing to search from within as to what next can be done, you'll definitely figure out.
Right.
It will happen in your jobs also. It will happen in your entrepreneurship journey also, that things may not work out. And many times it has happened with people. They started their independent journey, entrepreneurship journey, they lost a lot of money. They came back to a job again.
Yes.
And made a huge success there.
Right.
So life experiences, as they are capitalized upon, they always help.
So what is that one thought, when the thought comes into my mind that, okay, this is it, I can't do it anymore. In that second, what do I tell myself, or what do I do so that I can overcome that one thought?
I think that's also one of those times when it's important to have a conversation with someone you can trust, someone you can confide in, someone who will not judge you,
Right.
who will not blame you. Have that conversation, and from that conversation, make what comes out of it, what can be the next step that you can take.
Right.
Maybe the thought can be as simple as, Vikram, I'm not able to understand things right now. Who can I go and talk to? Maybe that's the thought that can be helpful there.
Right.
Or if you are a person who has the ability to practice reflection, sit with yourself and see what comes
Think
up
about
there.
it. Right. Okay, the next question that I'd like to ask you, specifically in terms of people who want to change their careers, okay? Now, we dug up a Harvard Business Review report of 2016, but it's slightly old, but I think it's still relevant. It says 55 to 60% of people define themselves based on their jobs.
Right.
That means their sense of identity is created because of the job. So if you ask them, what are you? They don't say, I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm a husband. They say, I am a manager somewhere.
Right.
So the association is very strong.
It is.
Right? So when they have to plug themselves out of that association, create a new identity for themselves, how challenging is it, and what is the best way to cope with this?
So why go to Harvard for this? I'll give you examples from my own professional life. I opted out much earlier, so it was not really a challenge. It was a conscious decision.
Right.
But there can be hundreds of examples. Till today, you are a general manager, you are a chief general manager, you are a whatever designation you are in, and tomorrow it's gone.
Right.
And I've seen people struggling with it. And that becomes very difficult if you have not carved out for yourself what next. So that is about post-retirement that I'm talking about. Let's change it to our conversation here. When I have designated myself as a technical architect,
Right.
and then I'm thinking of changing, what will the world think of me?
Yes.
My friend circle knows me as a solution provider, and most difficult of problems I'm able to solve. 100 line of coding, I can do it in so much time. That's an identity that you create for yourself. So again, it is a high level of thinking that I'm talking about. So you'll have to work towards stepping away from these external identities. So it may sound again a little philosophical, but my recommendation will be that the earlier we start walking away from these external identities,
Right.
the better it will be. So I'll have to start recognizing myself, my own capabilities, my own skill sets, and what I'm made for. That's my identity.
Right.
What I'm good at, what I can contribute. If I start looking at my career from that perspective, I think a lot will change.
Right.
And the crisis will never ever come.
Yes.
That's how I think it can be answered.
Okay.
However, as I said, it may take a while for a person to reach. So it may take a little while for a person to reach that space. However, that person must start having that conversation with himself or herself as to what makes him or her who he or she is.
Right.
I think then this identity crisis,
Yes.
which is driven by labels and designations which are given by an external world, they won't matter.
I think identity also manipulates us in many ways, because once we create an identity for ourselves, we also have the responsibility of living up to it.
Right.
So in the process of living up to that identity, we end up doing things we don't want to do, or we would not probably be doing, just because we want to maintain that image that we have created.
I think this is another powerful perspective that you have added to this whole conversation. That when we start identifying ourselves with that identity,
Yes.
Maybe some of our actions may not be those which gives us happiness and joy and fulfillment at all.
Right.
We are doing it because the world is seeing us through that prism.
Yeah, we've created that brand for
Right,
ourselves,
right.
and we don't want that brand image to
Right.
break. Right. Another very important question that I like to ask before we wind up. Now, when a person is taking a life-changing decision, right? How does one talk about such things with the close family? Because they are stakeholders at the end of the day. It could be a wife, it could be a parent, it could be a sibling. But it is an ecosystem that a person has, and is definitely accountable to them. You know, all of us are accountable to them. How does one have a conversation about such volatility or in life? That is how the family sees it. You know, why are you doing something new? I mean, when you're comfortable, you know, mahine mein ki tankha aa rahi hai, acha chal raha hai, why do you have to do something new? How does one have this conversation with their loved ones?
I can so much relate to that. It happened
I'm sure.
multiple times
I'm sure.
with me. So one important thing is have the conversation.
Yes.
Let people know what you want. Let people know what you feel about it. Talk. And when you talk, you know, the benefit that you'll get is you'll get a lot of wisdom coming to you from those who love you, who trust you, who believe in you.
Right.
Their counsel will never go astray. Even if at some point initially they're saying, "Acha to chal raha hai, why disturb everything?" That may be their initial thought process. However, as you continue to engage in conversation, they'll open up with their share of wisdom. So have conversation. That's the most important thing. Another important angle that I'm adding, which I perceive you had not mentioned in so many words, but it comes up, the financial responsibility
Yes.
part. So if you're moving from one job to another job, I think it's easy.
It's easy, yes.
And specifically when we are moving from one job to the next, it is always something better than before.
Yes.
So there is not much question to be asked. When it comes to transitioning from a job to working independently, that's a decision which has to be very, very considered decision. When I did that for myself, one thing, again, I won't say that, I don't claim that it was entirely my thought process. It came from people with whom I interacted with. That one important thing you must consider is that your family must be taken care of.
Right.
That financial backing or the financial support that your family needs for all their needs, whether it is education, style of living, leisure, holiday, etc., they may scale down a little bit for some time, but they have to be provided for.
Right.
And if you can have a cushion of minimum 1 year to up to 3 years, I think you'll be able to make it.
So basically what you're saying is create a security for this period, because
that
it might
safety
take that
net,
safety
safety
net. That's a nice word to use. So create that kind of a safety net, at least for a period of 1 to 3 years, and then take the plunge.
For example, means if nothing works out, I'll still be able to have food on the table, good food on the table, and other needs will also be taken care of.
Right, right.
You know, otherwise it becomes a different kind of identity crisis.
Correct.
That feeling of self-doubt and self-esteem goes down, and your family, they may not be able to go and talk to others if things come to that
Right.
pass. So that's why that financial safety net is very, very important.
Also, I think guilt.
Of course, if it is not working out, it will eat you from another angle also. One thing is your project is not taking off. Another thing is guilt starts eating you,
Right.
and you're left nowhere. All your energy will be taken away. So that safety net is very important, and you can very safely work on that passion of yours or mission of yours, whatever problems you're intending to solve through that.
Right.
You can work, you can give your entire attention to that.
Correct. Because the fundamentals are the basics are taken care of. Roti, kapda, makan is sorted.
Right.
Once that is sorted, that is when you start taking risk in life, essentially.
And that's what happened when I took this decision of working independently. My wife said, we'll figure it out. My children who were studying at critical juncture of their careers, they also understood and said, all right, we understand what's going to happen and we are okay, we are prepared for that.
Okay.
That's what helped me.
Right. Okay. Any last words of advice for people who are transitioning their careers, especially from the emotional health point of view?
So the last, it won't be maybe one thought, but couple of
Sure.
things. One of the important skills that I have come to understand, whether it is individual or whether it is leadership, and that is self-awareness. Most critical skills in your life that is going to ever help you is how much in touch with yourself you are. The more time that you invest in yourself, the easier it will become to handle any kind of situation that comes your way.
Right.
You will be able to actually start taking those risks which you never ever thought of because of the confidence that you're developing within yourself, the belief that you're developing within yourself. Your ultimate ally in your life is yourself.
Yourself.
There's a beautiful poem with the title Man in the Glass. You can search it out and read it. It's a very fantastic insight, which says that you may cheat the whole world, but when you look into the man in the glass, you'll never be able to cheat that. So the more you align yourself to what you are inside and what you are doing outside, I think life will become easier, personally as well as professionally.
Right. That's
And then people like me are there to help.
Sure. Is it true that we think more about others than about ourselves?
It's more than 100% true. Yeah, it's more than 100% true.
We are always busy analyzing what the other person's doing.
So, it's a Urdu couplet that's coming to my mind right now. And I'm sure the audience will understand. I'll make an attempt to translate also. Which says that Zindagi ke chand lamhe. Lamhe is moments. Zindagi ke chand lamhe khud ki khatir bhi rakho. Keep some moments of life for yourself. जिंदगी के चंद लम्हे खुद की खातिर भी रखो. भीड़ में ज्यादा रहे, other world, other people. भीड़ में ज्यादा रहे तो खुद भी गुम हो जाओगे. Lose yourself.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think on that note, I wouldn't want to add anything more than that. I think we'll end on that note. Beautiful having this conversation, Mr. Vikram.
Thank you so much. And if there's anything I can further add value, I'll always be happy.
Definitely, we'll keep coming back to you. There was actually so many avenues that this conversation opened up,
Right.
more about self-awareness, more about emotional intelligence. We would want to have more conversations with you. But for now, I think a lot of takeaways for people who are in that transition of their career, who are struggling to make a decision, who have made a decision and are struggling to cope with it. I think a lot of takeaways for them. So thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.